Track Day Survival Series, Episode 2. Welcome back to the Parapublic YouTube channel. You guys asked for it, so we're bringing it. Today's video is brought to you by you guys out there that are asking the questions in the comment section, and we are talking wheel studs, how to change them when we break. Now the reason the wheel studs will break is probably because you're at the track and one of the wheel nuts has come loose and the wheel has started to vibrate and starting to bend the wheel studs. Now in a bad case, like this magnesium wheel here, the wheel nuts have come loose and flogged out all the holes and rendered this rim pretty much useless. And another extreme example of some major damage caused to the wheel hub studs, being the loose wheel nuts. And we've got one that snapped off totally, one that snapped off almost all the way down to the base. So these two are going to be very hard to get out. And this one over here, you can see the stud is all damaged. All the threads are almost chewed off, and that's from the wheel moving on the threads and have rendered this wheel hub almost unusable. So if you're caught out at the track and you have broken a wheel stud or you've damaged them beyond repair, you've got a loose wheel, I'm going to show you first how to remove the stud if the thread's still in good condition. Second, how to remove them if there's still some shank left on there and the thread's in bad condition. And then the other two, we're going to have to use an easy out and some other sort of equipment that you may or may not have trackside, and also to work hard holding is going to be very difficult, so you may need a bench vise. If the stud is in the hub and the thread is still intact, the easiest method to get them out is to use two M8 nuts without a nylock and simply spin them onto the stud and then spin the second one on so they're locked together, and then with two 13mm spanners you can lock the two nuts together. Then with the spanner and holding the hub, you can just simply rotate those nuts and it'll pull the stud out of the hub. Now most studs have been Loctited in, so they will be difficult to get out, and that's probably what makes them so hard to remove once they're broken. Okay, so now that we've got the stud removed out of the hub, what we're going to do is prep the new stud with some Loctite, lock the two nuts together and reinstall it into the hub. Okay you guys, we've got ourselves a brand new stud here. Now the short end of the stud is going to go into the hub and the longer end is going to be out into the wheel for our wheel nut to fix to. We're going to get ourselves a little bit of stud locker here. Just run that up on the thread. And then we can install that into the hub. Simply spin on your nuts. Lock the two together and then simply tighten the nuts. Once the stud's firmly in place, we can simply grab the two spanners, undo the two lock nuts, spin the nuts off. So that's how you remove and replace an easy stud that's not totally damaged. Now we're going to try to show you how to get these damaged studs out of the wheel hub. So as you can see, this stud's thread is damaged beyond repair and we can't get our locking nuts on there to get that stud moving and get it out of the hub. So what we're going to do is we're going to install this hub onto the cart and we're going to see if we can get this off with the vice grips. If you're doing this job by yourself, a good idea is to grab a zip tie and zip tie the brake pedal to the front crash bar. So with this damaged one here, we are just going to put our trusty old vice grips on, and you will have to do them up reasonably tight, and then you can simply rotate that stud out of the way. Now sometimes these can snap as you're removing them, and then we'll have to show you plan B. It's starting to loosen up now, the Loctite. So we could probably use some lighter pressure just to get that stud moving a bit quicker. So once you've got the stud moving a little bit, you might want to change over to a set of multi-grips to get the job done a little bit quicker. So the next stud is snapped off even shorter and there's no threads at all. So we're going to try and use the vice grips first and see if we can get them out with that. Okay, so we're going to try to get the vice grips onto this little guy here, and we're going to use the front part of the vice grips so that as we rotate it, we don't take out the spigot of the hub. And we're just going to take a few goes at it to get the tension just... You want to make sure those vice grips are biting in pretty good for this first part. So now that we've got the vice grips locked on, we're going to try to rotate that stud. And you can work the stud a little bit forward and backward with the vice grips to try to break the Loctite. And that's just going to make the job that little bit easier. So now we can undo the vice grip and just grab another piece here and slowly but surely try to work that stud out of its little house. They are stubborn and they are hard to remove. And just like before, once you've got some of the Loctite broken and that stud is starting to move inside the hub, well then you can switch over to a set of multi-grips and it'll make the job a little bit easier. Now this last stud in this hub is clearly broken off below the face here, and it's going to be a real mission to get it out. So we are going to have to remove the hub off the axle and take it over to the bench vise. Okay, so now we're over at the bench vise. What we are going to do first is center punch that damaged stud. So first up, we're going to try to get the center of the stud with our center punch and just lightly tap that in. Now you might not be able to see that on the camera, but it's a little bit off center. So I'm just going to move it over slightly with a bit of angle on my center punch. Okay, so now that we've moved the center punch close to center, we're almost ready to drill. I'm just going to give it one more good whack to centralize the center punch mark. And the reason we're doing that is once you drill the hole, we might have to insert a easy out or a stud extractor into the stud. And it's way easier if the hole is as close to center for that process. So now we can take the hub and put it in the vise. Do the vise up. And we're ready to start drilling. Okay, so this stud is a little old and rusty, so we're going to use a bit of this Black Magic from Forsch. It's a great product. I'm not sponsored by them. I just like to use it. And we're going to spray that on here. And it's a graphite-based lubricant, and it's going to soak down into the stud, especially after I start drilling. It's going to make the stud hot, and hopefully that penetrates between the stud and the hub and makes it easier to get that stud out in a minute. So first up, we're going to start with a small 2.5mm drill bit. So now that we've got our 2.5 pilot hole in. We're going to step it up. Now the first thing we're going to go and switch to is a left-handed stubby drill bit. And this is going to go into the hole and hopefully it'll catch and spin that stud out. Now you will have to use these drills in reverse. Okay, so the left-handed drill bit didn't work, so now we're going to use the screw extractor. So we're going to use this little drill bit here, and the stud extractor we're going to slam in at the end, and that's got a reverse helix, so it's going to pull the stud out, hopefully. You could use the bigger one, but it's very close to the diameter of the thread, so we're going to go down a size. Hopefully this one works. First up, we're going to drill a pilot hole. And then next up, we're going to install the stud extractor into the hole. Okay, so now we've inserted the screw extractor into the hub, and we're going to try and get it to move using a tap wrench. Now I've tried to use the smallest screw extractor I can, and it's just not going to work. The stud is way too tight. So I'm going to drill the hole out a little bit bigger and see if the bigger stud extractor will work. And then after that, we're going to have to put this one in a milling machine or something and put a helicoil. So you wouldn't be able to fix this one at the track. Okay, so that went as I thought. It is really hard to get those broken studs out once they're snapped off below the surface of the hub. So what we generally do with those is bring them into the machine shop, set this up in a vise in a milling machine, and drill and helicoil it. Now we do have videos on how to do helicoils. You can click that link in the description below, but it's something that you're probably not going to be able to do at the track, and you might not even be able to do that one at home. So take it to your local kart shop or machine shop and get them to chuck a helicoil in your hub. So unfortunately, we weren't so successful on the third broken stud, but hopefully you've got a good understanding of how to get these out at the track if you're ever stuck. So that's the whole point of the Race Day Survival series, is to give you guys the knowledge and the skills. So if this happens to you at the track, you know how to get it done and get back out there and win some races. Thanks to everybody that has been subscribing lately, turning on those pesky notifications. If you love the video, give us a thumbs up, follow us on Instagram and Facebook. You can even go to our Patreon page as well and sign up to that. We really appreciate all the support, everybody sharing our videos and following along at home. Thanks for watching, see you in the next video.